Okay, so we'll be continuing in Unit 5. We're still at the end, the tail end of Unit 5, the tail end of requesting Melacha from a Goy. Before we move on to Unit 6, that has more to do with doing business with the Goy, which is slightly different. We're going to look at a few final examples of amirot, of requests that are done not in the normal way, or that therefore could have their own kinds of leniency. The first is going to be psik reisha, and the second is going to be things about which there's a machloket, about which there's a machloket. So let's start with psik reisha. Derabanans, Siman Samech Vav, on page 11 in the English pages, asks the following question. Asks, I say, not was asked, because we have Derabanans asked his own questions to himself. Right? He said, why should I have people ask me questions that if they ask good ones? I ask myself the questions, and I'll know that I'm asking a good Landish question. Right? So the Derabanans says as follows: Yesh bnei adam she'enem tanurim miyuchadim la'afot ben u'latmin ben lechamim u'matminim b'oto tanur shel beit hachoref. Means they use the fireplace as their oven, right? Or as a stove of sorts. And there's a way of they're not going to heat their food in the kitchen. They're going to heat the food. They don't have a Shabbos plata either, right? For Tradition's time, they use the fireplace. All right. You might ask, okay, they can do as they please. But why is that relevant? So it's like this: Lemachrat b'Shabbat ba shifcha u'motziat hachamim kulo min hatanur u'moshivot al gabei hatanur b'fnim beit hachoref. ואז מברת את האש בתוך התנור כדי לחמם בית החורף. ועל ידי כך נותחים החמין שעל גבי התנור לכל צורכם. So, the maid turns the fire on, right? Lights the fireplace to heat up the house. As we said, this could be a case of extreme discomfort that would justify the Melacha being done by the Najim, right? And you could, right? We said that could be the cold, could be choli, that justifies heating up the house, even Melacha d'oraisa. Now, what she intends on doing is heating up the house. Just so happens that the food I want to eat during my Suda is on the sides of the fireplace as well. So, what is she doing? She's heating up the house, which is okay. But she's also heating up the food, which is not. Right?
Maybe the food was not cooked?
Presumably we're talking about cold and lach food, right? That you wouldn't otherwise be allowed to put such proximity to the flame, to the heat.
And what's driving her to do it is to heat up the house.
That's right. Now, normally in Halacha we call this a psik reisha.
I wouldn't say driving her.
The reason you
gave her was to heat up the house.
Sorry?
Presumably the reason you said to her was to heat up the house, or you didn't say any reason.
Presumably that's genuinely the principal reason.
Right, that is the primary reason. The question is that good enough? Because normally we would call this a psik reisha, right? Whenever I do one action has more than one, and the outcome, there's the outcome that's okay, and there's the outcome that's prohibited, right? So even if my primary goal is to achieve the one that's allowed, still, since inadvertently there's no way around having the Isur happen, that would be Asur, that's what you call psik reisha. The question is, should it be different in any way when it comes to the Goyim? You think of a Svara, why it would be different in the regular Isur? Okay, the idea...
There's no mirror, you didn't say anything now.
Yeah, but I mean, there really is a mirror because I told her before Shabbos to do it or whatever. She knows this is her job. This isn't, right? She knows she's supposed to heat the fireplace up and...
At a certain time?
Yeah, in the morning when everyone comes back from shul, whatever. She knows when she's supposed to...
And you put that food there, and you plant it and rig it so that the food is there when she does that.
No, it might depend if you set up the psik reisha situation or if she was just in the psik reisha situation. Because
this is how people used to cook.
I think fireplace.
This is how people used to cook.
If you set it up, I'm saying it's more problematic. But if it happens, if you have an otherwise okay on Iran, it happened to be that there's a psik reisha situation, I could imagine that being not as problematic.
I'm saying this example.
It's built in.
Right. So the thing is this: another totally different aspect that we have to take into account is when we were talking about the parameters of the prohibition itself, we said that what the guy has on his mind is key to deciding whether something is mutar or aser, right? In other words, if he would do it for himself, just like Yair said right before the Shiur, right? If the guy is doing the Melacha for himself, I'm allowed to benefit from it, right? So we see that the fact that an Isur happened, a Melacha that from which I would not be allowed to benefit, occurred, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not allowed to enjoy it if that wasn't the primary goal. The question is that parallel? In other words, the guy is doing a Melacha for himself, right? That is allowed, that he has to do, right? You have to do Melacha on Shabbos, right?
Yeah.
So that he's allowed to do. Now, since he did it for something that's okay, I'm also allowed to benefit from it. The question is, can you say the same about this? That what she's doing is heating the fireplace for something that's allowed, and therefore also the other outcome should also be okay. So let's see what the Derabanans says. Derabanans בא מיראה לנוכלים שהוא מהכל חולים אצל צנעה ונהינמי דרחמנים תרחים על ידי כך מאליהם בוודאי ועל דעת כן היא מושיבתם על התנור מכל מקום בשעה שהיא מושיבתו על התנור אין שורש בתנור העברה שעוברת אחר כך עיקר כוונה היא לבית החורף. So he says it really depends on her kavanah, on her intention. Since her intention is to do something that I'm allowed to enjoy, so I'm allowed to enjoy the other outcomes. Now, it's true, this isn't exactly parallel to the regular case, right? In the regular case, she's doing it for herself, and then I enjoy the outcome, which is the same outcome, right? And here, right, she boils a kettle, and then for herself, and then I make myself a cup of coffee, right? That's definitely okay. But there, she boiled the same kettle. As opposed to here, she was heating up the house, which is okay, but she was also heating up the food. Is that parallel or not? So it sounds from transition that he thinks it is parallel. And the Rama brings this the Halacha on the next page. נוהגים שהאינם יהודים מוצאים הגזרות מן התנורים שמתאימים להם ומושיבים אותם אצל תנור בית החורף או עליו ומעביר את השפחה אחר כך לתנור ההוא לידי זה הגדרות חוזרים ונרתחים, which is more extreme, like Yaakov said. Yaakov said, I can see how you'd be lenient with her putting the food there and then heating up the house. It would be harder to say that I'm allowed to put the food there when I know she's going to heat, when I know she's going to light the fire later on, right? Now, based on the previous svara, maybe it's the other way around, right?
Why is she putting food
She
there?
puts food in.
Right, if she put the food there, so she knows that she's doing two things. It's true that her primary concern is with heating the house, but she's also aware because she put the food there. In a sense, the Rama is being more machmir, right? Because he says, you put the food there, then it's not on her mind, and then it's easier to enjoy the benefit from the food that heated up, right? So in a way, it's more machmir. It's kind of counterintuitive, right?
It's better, you're saying.
Right. It's more machmir. It's not. The Rama says this. He doesn't necessarily agree with the same leniency that the Derabanans said, right? Possibly, if the maid herself put it in the fireplace,
Maybe it's not secret.
maybe it's more. It's not psikresha enough. It's not the Russian mitkaven enough. It's too psikresha. It's the actual action.
Yeah.
Possibly. So that's right. Now the tour, in a very different context. In the context of Bishul Akum, the Torah writes as follows: "In kiven l'shem bishul, kigon she'asik et tanur levashel bo, ve'al basar tchila v'nitzla." So he turned the stove on, he turned the oven on to do something else, and there happened to be food inside. So he cooked the food by mistake. He wasn't aware of the fact that he was cooking the food. Is that a reason to be lenient? Does that justify leniency when it comes to Ma'achal Yaakov? That's the question. So what does the Torah say? It's also whenever the guy causes the food to cook, it doesn't really matter if he's aware of it or not.
But that's asur mitam bishul akum or mitam the fact that he cooked it.
No, bishul. You say this is on
Maybe Shabbat is different though.
Why? For the previous svar. You can look at it in two ways. You can look at it right.
I don't know. It's like a different
realm.
Yeah.
Right. So. So l'chora, that's the right. That's the question. Are we going to compare the two or not? Are we going to say both are Yisrei Derabanan that are intended on creating a harchaka, either from requesting the Melacha from the guy or a harchaka from eating the guy's food, whatever the reason is. In both cases, right? On Shabbos or not eating Melacha. The assumption of some of the poskim is that these should be parallel, just like the Taz says. The Taz here says, "Im ken da'afilu le'inyan isur b'shulei goyim she'eno karam le'Torah hichmiru l'chuz shem nitkaven le'bishul basar akol panim bishul basar utafel leibush hakli afilu hachi asur וכן כאן שהגוי מתכוון בברור לחירום התבשיל ודעת כן להושיבו שם מטעם זה אסור לישראל להושיבו שם אבל נתיר אחר כך עברת התנור כיוון שעיקר הכוונה של הלחם בבית חורף as long as she's aware, so Yaakov's going to say, right, if she put it there, and then so there's a primary goal and there's a secondary goal, and the secondary goal is included. But you see that the Taz draws a parallel between the two and says, Ma'achalei Yakum is Derabanan. It's not based on any Doraisa Halacha, and yet we're so machmir, we're so stringent. We should be the same should apply to Amiral Goy, which is based on Melacha on Shabbos, right? Doing Melacha on Shabbos via proxy, as we learned, right? So, the chorah there we should more machmir. So whatever halacha applies to us, if we're looking at it like shlichut, any halacha that should apply to us should apply to them as well. So, if once psik reisha is not in the realm of Melacha, is not outside the realm of Melacha machshevet, right? So too, right, we say, Darash mitkaven machloket, whether that's in the world of Melacha machshevet, all agree that psik reisha is not within that realm, right? Is considered Melacha machshevet. The main any psik reisha applies to them, just like we should have the same parallel, right? The parallel world. Right. We see that's the Taz's direction.
Although I feel like the Taz is saying this is not really psik reisha. Because it's not really Devar She'eino Mitkaven. So and maybe that's a problem with the Tumat Hadeshin's scenario in the first place, because it's too hard to say that in that case they're not also intending to heat up the food.
So it's really primary and secondary. It's not my intention and what happens inadvertently. It's my primary and secondary goals.
Yeah.
But they are both goals.
Yeah.
Right.
If she doesn't know the food's there.
Right?
If she doesn't know the food's there.
Right, so if she doesn't know the food's
it's either hidden or I have one of those now. Nice. It's cool. Goes up to the second floor and heat the food on the second floor.
Right. Or if I put it on the side of the
parfait
place in a way that she just wasn't aware, right? So it's interesting because in the case the Torah brings in, the Torah's case in Yerideb isn't referring to a case where she knows where the goy, whatever. Right, the goy is aware of the food. It sounds like they're not aware and yet it's also. The Torah says if we ask her there, we should definitely ask her here. Now why? Two reasons. First of all, because that's not based on the din d'oraisa, and this is. Second of all, here she put the food there, so she knows what's going on. Okay, what about the Ramon's case? Right? That's what Yaakov's actually asking, right? That's all very well for the Jerusalem's quiet case. What about the Ramon's case?
I'm not even sure that I would distinguish necessarily between whether she put it there or the Jew put it there. Like, somebody is intending for this to happen. It's not, in either scenario, we're talking about a situation where it's not really inadvertent. So I would to talk about psik reisha for real, I would talk about a case where it's really a byproduct and not
in your mind at all. So this could depend on a few things. First of all, when you're drawing the parallel between the psik reisha the goy does and the rest of the halachot, are we looking at psik reisha the way we look at the world of Melacha Machshevet and say, well, we know that psik reisha is considered Melacha Machshevet, so that should apply to the goy as well? Or do we say, yes, when I do Melacha, I'm not allowed to do any Melacha on Shabbos at all. So when I do Melacha, whatever happens inadvertently is part of what I did. When the guy does melacha and I'm allowed to benefit from the melacha. If there's no intention, then I'll not necessarily benefit from that. And then you can start looking at primary goals, secondary goals, or other things that happen that the guy wasn't aware of. Then you can start making those distinctions, not because of the parallel of the world of Melacha, but just because of the way the Isur was defined, right? That's one way of looking at the discussion. Another way of looking at the discussion is, what is Psik Reisha? Why is Psik Reisha Asur? So there's a whole discussion. I'm not going to go into the intricacies of that. In one of the Chavot, we have a discussion about that. But just broadly speaking, some Achronim said that Psik Reisha means that, at least halachically defined as something that I am aware of. If it will happen inadvertently, if there's no way that it will not, that the other outcome will not happen, so I need to pay attention to what I'm doing. Right? I mean, this goes down to physics, and you say, well, everything, once you know the actual physics, there's no, right, you can always, if I drag this chair across dirt, right? So is there Psik Reisha that will make a groove in the dirt? You're saying, well, it depends on many parameters that you don't know. If you've never tried these chairs out, you don't know what I'm talking about, etc., right? Now, we're inclined to say, and this is what the Gemara says, right, that's a classic example of a non-Psik Reisha, right? Of course, who knows? On the other hand, if I knew all the parameters, if I knew exactly how heavy it is, if I knew if I knew whatever relevant physical parameters of the dirt, I'd know whether it'll make a groove or not, right? So why is it not a Psik Reisha? Either it is a Psik Reisha or it's not a Psik Reisha, right? There's no. If you say that, if you break that down, you end up with there's no room for discussion about davar she'eino mitkaven. Because it's always either will necessarily have to happen. There are very few cases in which wherever I try to use a cat and we have no idea what's going to happen. Right? There's no way of knowing what the outcome is going to be. In most cases, if you have everything, if you have all the details, you could work it out. Maybe I can't because I'm not a physicist, but someone who knows more about the relevant science would be able to work it out, right? So either it has to happen or it won't. So this teaches us that the whole world of Davar she'eino mitkaven is not necessarily based on the reality, but based on. Rafi, you want to close the door? Not necessarily based on reality, but based on what's in our minds. In my mind, when I drag the chair, I don't think it's going to create the groove. Now, I'm wrong, because physically it did, but my uncertainty is enough to turn into Davar she'eino mitkaven, not a Psik Reisha. Right, Psik Reisha, the important point I'm making is, Psik Reisha is not necessarily based on physics, it's based on what I think the physics would be. Now, why is that important? Because then when that means that whenever it is a Psik Reisha, it means that I should have thought of this outcome. I should have realized this would also happen. That's why it's Melacha Melacha.
But she didn't think.
Right, the reason Psik Reisha Melacha was she should have paid attention. I mean, she isn't halachically obligated to pay attention, but just like we're not. But just as we are halachically obligated to pay attention, as far as we're concerned, we see it as if you should have known. You should have known this would be the outcome. She's lighting the fireplace. If she looks around, she sees she should see it's there. I mean, if she has no idea, etc. But if rudimentary check would have she would have seen, yeah, there are pots over there. Oh, right, okay, right. That's enough to say this will inadvertently be an outcome. Therefore, you can't say that there was no intention this will happen. The question is, of course, does this apply only to Jews or also to Goyim? Because when I have to decide whether I can drag the chair on Shabbos, I have to stop and think, wait, maybe I'm doing something wrong. A Goy doesn't need to think about that. They're not, that's to the Jews, it's not our problem. Right? So, just in summary, I think the whole discussion here could be looked at in two lenses. can look at the Psik Reisha lens that says what is a Psik Reisha, how does Psik Reisha, what is the interplay between Psik Reisha and Derash and Mitkaven, and therefore, and then apply that to the Goyim. That's one lens. The other lens is the one I said previously about when we said that I can't benefit from Melacha that was done by a Goy that was intended for my benefit. I say, what was intended for my benefit? Well, the fire, the heat was intended for my benefit. What about the food? That wasn't really intended for my benefit because it wasn't really intended all that much. So, or do we say, no, it's a Psik Reisha as far as we're concerned, since you couldn't have done that, you can't enjoy it either. So, I think we philosophized enough. Let's see some on the chorus. So, right, so Trumat Hashem said, so just to sum what we have seen, and then go on to what the poskim said. So based on this, Trumat Hashem said that it is okay, that she could put it there and then light the fire later on, because even if it's a secondary goal, it's still okay, because it's only a Psik Reisha, for whatever reasons we mentioned just now. The Ramah said this Halacha, but what he wrote at least was that the Jew could put it there, as we said, for better or for worse, right? Whether that's easier to rely on or harder, right? Depending on the previous.
Why do you say that the Rama, or is it says it that way?
Why?
Where do you see that the Jew put it there?
Where is it? Oh no, sorry, you're right. It's just not. Sorry, you're right. It just sounds. I'm sorry. No, I got that wrong. I got mixed up. Sorry, what's implied in the Ramah is something even better. I don't know why I had in my mind that he wrote that the Jew could do it himself. No, but it's mashma that someone else does it. So then it's definitely better, right? Sorry, take that all back. Not at all. Not at all. I said a few useful points, I think. But, right, the Ramah is talking about one guy putting and another guy lighting the fire, right? That's definitely better, right?
Yeah.
That's, either way, it's better, right?
You're saying there's one character here that's called Eino Yudi and there's another character that's called the Shifcha?
Presumably. Again, the question is, did you really intend on it being different workers who aren't aware of each other? I don't know. And once again, as we've said many times in the previous Shiurim, there's only so many times we can play this trick without the guy catching on to what's going on, right?
Are we sure the Rama is not talking about a case? Sounds like the children is in a communal oven or something in an oven, but Matmini not. So it would still be warm. It hasn't cooled down.
Then why was it called in the first place?
What's the issue?
They turn the oven off. It stays warm, and then you want it to get really hot, which the Rama allowed. It's not meaning that's much less of a halachic. According to the Rama, right?
I hear you.
The liquid that's not cold yet. And put it near a fire. It's just the question is, this fire didn't exist before. The guy lit a fire, which you're now benefiting from.
I hear. I mean,
you think that's what it's saying?
it's hard to say that because if it really didn't cool down, it's not so clear that there's any problem. If the food didn't cool down,
It's just he's lighting a fire, which you're now going to benefit from. To eat your food up for lunch, and maybe even later. That's what you do.
Right, but then you can also do the other way around, presumably. They can light the fire, and I can take the food and put it there myself after once the fire is lit.
Well, and
So
they know
that's
this is what
why
happens. This is how you
it's
heat the food every week.
Why?
It sounds like this is how they heat the food every week.
Right, no, but I'm saying, therefore,
So if
even
you
the cold
like
food
knowing you're
that
going
should
to do that, they might.
Sorry?
So if the shikha is lighting it, knowing you're going to bring a warm chocolate.
No, but that's still okay because right now she's only heating the house.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, the Taz, based on what we saw, what the tour said in your there regarding Melacha Goyim, said there are two reasons to be more machmir here. There, the guy is not aware of the other food, which, as we said, the Ramah presumably solved, right? Because if we really are looking at two characters in the Ramah. The other aspect is the difference between Doraisa and Derabanan. Doraisa-based or Derabanan-based Gzerut, right? So there'd be more of a reason to machmir in our cases. Now, let's let's see, where this goes after in the poskim, the Pri Megadim says, the other poskim, the Pri Megadim says, Isur Melechot Shabbat v'naseh l'yedei goy, af b'lo amir d'israel asur, im ken alei asur, b'lo amira kol shemechaven l'tzol b'tzoleh, v'kam yitkavna b'chach. So, the Pri Megadim says we have to be stringent as well, because it's not like we require the request. As long as the guy is aware of the fact that the Jew is benefiting, it's usher. Here too, the guy is aware of the Jew benefiting. Once again, if we break the Ramah down to two characters who are not aware of each other, the first could be aware of the second, but the second isn't, right? The first is aware of the second, it's a bit strange. Food and fireplace. Right, as opposed to the Magen Avraham goes the other way. The Magen Avraham says it's all okay because their intention is on heating the house and they're not concerned with heating of the food. So it seems that as long as the guy really isn't aware of the secondary or not thinking about the secondary goals, most poskim would agree it's okay. That's what it sounds like. Now you might say, all right, whatever, we don't have fireplaces and we have normal ways of heating food up on Shabbos, which will question even 13 to 27, but not now. The real question is this. The real question is why is this such a relevant halacha? The answer is if a fuse shuts off on Shabbos, right? So I tell the guy I have more kids and it's cold and I need the heat. So could you turn the main fuse on, right? So for the kids when it's cold, etc., I could ask for. Now what's going to happen when you turn the fuse on? The fridge will go on, the platter will go on, right? Now it went off in the middle of the night. I was asleep. I didn't realize what was going on. I wake up in the morning. I see the Shabbos clock on the platter is all totally wrong hours. So I want to set it to go either the constant setting or to turn some on, some off, right? Maybe I didn't put enough heat on because I didn't realize it's going to snow all night. I didn't realize that, so I want to turn the heat on before. Again, just turn the radiators on before the guy turns the main fuse on, right? Now I'm not doing anything. I'm just moving a switch that isn't going to do anything right now. Having done all that, now the guy's going to turn the main fuse on, turn everything on, right? So the heat is easy because the heat is a primary goal, something that we're allowed to do. What about everything else?
But this depends on what you said there. And then in this situation, it's different than it just comes without asking.
Right, why? No, again, if I tell the guy, my fuse blew and it's snowing, right, we need the heat. Can you turn let's turn the main fuse on.
I just tell the fuse.
So we're sort of telling nothing.
Yeah, tell nothing.
Maybe it's not better than telling him nothing, maybe.
It might be better than telling him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right, because if I don't say anything, he says, "Wow, they're in the dark and they won't have hot food, and their food in their freezer will spoil and I don't know what else, right?" But if I say I need the heat, he's saying, "Why are you saying that? You're sitting in the dark. What's wrong with you?" I say, "Yeah, I don't care about that. I care about the heat." Right?
Can we look at it from a different way, sort of like the ner echad ner lemea idea,
Right.
where he's only doing one act, and that act can be justified.
Right.
So the fact that there are all sorts of fortunate byproducts maybe doesn't need to trouble us. And that can be true also with the pot and also with the circuit breaker that you just said. Like, in the end, I'm justified in having the heat turned on. The way to turn the heat on is from that one switch. So what's the problem? The fact that it will happily also do a lot of other things in the house.
Right, but am I allowed to create those changes? The other byproduct? By changing the Shabbos clock on the plata, I don't know.
It's exactly like putting the food next to the fireplace, no?
Yes, Yaakov's saying presumably that this would be an easier case to be lenient, because here I just say turn this fuse on because I need the heat. That's similar to, as he said, about right? He's not turning the light on for himself, and then we all benefit.
Presumably you didn't touch your fire switches or your heaters, would it still be an issue?
Right, if I didn't change anything?
As in,
You
yeah,
don't change anything, but you get all these benefits.
Right, so
there
Yaakov's leniency would be good, right? When I drew the parallel at the beginning of the Shiur, I said, it's like the guy doing the Melacha that he'll benefit and then I'll also benefit, right? Yaakov's saying, well, maybe the comparison should be to like Ner Lecha, Ner Lemea, right? I do a Melacha which has an outcome that's broader than the very specific one, right? He turns the light on. It's very hard to turn the light on in this room and only enjoy the light over here. You have to go to a lot of trouble to do that. It's much easier to turn the light on, the whole room will light, right? Same too, right? Same too. That's also that would also. And it's just like we say, if the guy turns the light on for himself, I don't need to make sure that he's only lighting up this part of the room, like right over here where he wants to read, right? So too, when it turns on the rest of the lights here, that's just the outcome. That's just what happens, right? It's the same Ner Lecha Ner Lemea, right? So Ner Lecha Ner Lemea starts from the single bulb I have over here, moves on to the rest of the bulbs in the room, and then we can say the same idea about turning the fuse on and everything else that happens when he turns that, right?
So if that's if we like that surah, then you're really asking a different question now, which is, are you allowed to like kind of set up like a chessboard that is going to be favorable to you? That as soon as like right. So can you set up the chamin that way?
It's like putting the pot.
Can you
set up all the things so that it will magically do everything
without the fuse gate?
Without right before, like while it's off.
Yeah.
Set up your.
I'm saying even like this
what?
Or even like you just want everything to happen. You set up one circuit in your house.
Right.
You set up a house that has this circuit.
Well, I mean the fuse box is basically.
You choose one circuit that has your chamin and your radiator and your zed.
Oh, yeah.
And you go every track.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
Even
right. Maybe if we're talking about a specific plug, so I'll move all the other plugs to be connected to that one, so that's right. All right. So let's see what the post can do with this. So Moshe asked the question about if you forgot to turn the light off on your fridge, right?
That's happened to me.
It happens. It's terrible. So Rav Moshe at the top of page 13. Rav Moshe says, הנה, כשיש במקרר שנקרא פריג'ידר, אור אלקטרי, שנדלק מפתיחת דלת המקרר ונכבה בסגירת הדלת, שכחו מלקחת את האור משם בערב שבת, ודאי אסור לפתוח, שלא פסיק רשו שוודאי נדלק, והוא גם נכבה. Now, he says, אם עיקר מאחרים שחריר השבת נמצא שם, יש להטיל לפתוח על ידי גוי, והגוי יסלק גם את האור משם, שגם זהו צורך כדי שיקחו לקחת הסעודה השנייה. Now, the Gemara says, okay, הפתיחה מותר על ידי גוי, אף כשאין צורך כל כך, משום דכיוון שאינו מתכוון לקרוא, אף שהוא פסיק רשע מותר לומר לגוי. But there's a very big difference between my psik resh and his psik resh. I think that's what Rav Moshe is basing this on. When I open the fridge, what do I want? I want to take out some cucumbers, right? That's what I want. I want to take out the rice. Now, but it's a psik resha, so I can't ignore, as I said previously about psik resha, right? I can't ignore the byproduct of turning the light on, and I can't say, well, it doesn't interest me. Yes, it does. There's a reason you have a bulb there, because you like having light there. So you can't tell me that you don't care about it. When I tell the guy, get me the rice, right? Where is it? It's in the fridge. Now I'll open the fridge. I say, what are you doing? I say, well, you turned the light on. I never said you can turn the light on. I say, what are you, right? Right, because in his mind, he didn't turn the light on. He brought me the rice. Bring me the rice is okay. Turning the light on is the problem. Right? Now, the truth is, there's another reason to not do this. Because when the guy opens the fridge, who's the light helping? Him. Right? It's just like you said about washing dishes in a dark room. Right? He's not turning the light on for himself. Right? So, but Rav Moshe says even without that, just this psik resha concept is enough to say that it's okay because that's not what's on his mind. I'm obligated to have the psik resha on my mind, and the guy is not. Now, similarly, we see. Rav Shlomo Zalman, sorry. Similarly, the opposite. Rav Shlomo Zalman disagrees. Shlomo Zalman says, the Shemashal Gechatah quotes Rav Shlomo Zalman, Shamati Magdal Shaz, שבקפה קצת בעצם הדין הזה. מכיוון שבאופן קבוע מתוכנן נעשית ההדלקה רק על ידי פתיחת הדלת, והכיבוי נעשה רק על ידי סגירתה. אפשר לחשב כעושה מעשה בידיים ולא בגדר פסיק רישא. This is the psik reisha. That's what opening a door, a fridge door is. Right? There's a distinction between two kinds of psik reisha. The psik reisha where I do one thing and there's a secondary outcome, and where it's bein ke'echad, it's one unit of action. Opening the fridge and the light going on is not a byproduct. That's what opening a fridge is. That's Rosh Zalman's. That's the way he looks at it. That's his.
And that's
Yeah,
why
and what is psik reisha?
Psik reisha is where I drag the chair and
No,
also.
what is psik reisha?
Oh yes, that's a good point. I pointed this out about a few things. Look at the Aruch HaShulchan. He's an excellent the whole Melacha in Rish Mem Gimel, Rish Mem Bet. In Rish Mem Bet, he's a whole Melacha about what's the difference between psik reisha and darshan mitkaven. What is the actual difference? And no one really knows. So he has a very nice model, very long, just very which is the end. He says, well, the truth is, of course, the original case of psik reisha, chopping the chicken's head, right, intending on using the head and not killing the chicken, would not fit into that category. We see that the sugya do go in that direction. That's what Yaakov is pointing out, right? When you chop the chicken's head, you can't say, yeah, there's also some byproduct that she happens to die and you on the way, right? That's just so happens, right? As opposed to, so what's more connected, opening the fridge and light going on, or chopping the chicken's head and the chicken dying? Yeah, that's right. So it's a good point, but we see this didn't concern Achron, just saying. Which,
But by him saying it's one, what does that mean? Rosh Hashanah saying that it's one thing, it's not psik reisha, so what is it for him?
I think the point is, I said earlier that I, as a Jew, could ignore the byproduct of something. Sorry, I'm obligated to pay attention to the byproduct of my actions.
All right.
Right? So if inadvertently this will be a byproduct, right? There'll be other outcomes that are problematic. I have to be aware of that. I have to make sure that they won't happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're part of my action because I'm in the halachic sphere and I have to pay attention to that. The goy is not obligated to pay attention to other byproducts. Right? Now, Rosh Zalman says this is true as long as you could disconnect. As long as you really could say, well, the goy really isn't thinking about the other outcomes. When I tell the goy to open the fridge, he knows the light will go on. That's just the way it works. The system is made to work like that. So you can't disconnect them in the same way. Right? Now, here I'm less concerned, by the way, I'm going back to your question, I'm less concerned about the discrepancy, right? Is this actual, what about psik reisha? The actual, right, the archetypal psik reisha would not fit this. I'm less concerned because Rav Shlomo Zalman's point is less about the definitions of psik reisha and Melacha Machshevet. He's more concerned with the question of, when I tell a guy to do something, is he aware of the secondary outcomes? So yes, if I tell the guy, chop the chicken's head off and give me the head, I want to use it for a bowl, it's hard to say the guy will not be aware that he's killing the chicken along the way, right? He couldn't ignore that. Even though it is psik reisha, right? It is actual psik reisha, right? And as opposed to when he lights the fire in the fireplace, possibly he's not aware of the food that's around it, right? So that's the important distinction here. It's less important. The halachic psik reisha is less important in that sense. So as he says, שמכיוון שאנוכי יכול להוציא את התקע ולפתוח, גם מפני שעל ידי תחבולות שונות אפשר לפתוח את הדלת מבלי שתדלק נורה, לכן מותר על ידי גוי. אף אם יודעים ברור שאנוכי יפתח בדלת כרגיל. בכל מקום חוזרה עם היתר זה. אחד שאין זה מועיל קל, ידעון סגירת המקרר. So he's torn because he says, well, as far as the goy is concerned, it's not real psik reisha either. Because the goy could get it around it if he chooses to. He could pull the plug, and then the light won't go on when he opens the fridge, right? You might say, well, is pulling the plug okay? I don't know. But again, it's not the same kind of psik reisha. I'm telling him to get the rice, I'm not saying turn the light on. That's his point. His point is if I say, chop the chicken's head off, you need the head, you only want the head, so I'm saying kill a chicken. That's what I'm saying. Right? When I say get me the rice from the fridge, so he starts off with saying, I'm saying turn the light on. because that's going to be useful to you, right? I'm setting aside the other consideration of who's the light being turned on for. But I'm saying turn the light on. There's no way around it. Then he says, well, there are ways around it. But we see he's torn. We see he's not so sure if this would be a good kula, right? Based on that same concept.
Could you do that? If the fridge is off right now and the engine's not running, could you as a Jew take out the plug? You know it's not working? And then remove all your items?
That's a whole other complicated question. I don't want to go into.
Okay.
That's a whole other discussion. Now, the Hilchot Shabbat, and the Hilchot Shabbat, Rav Reuben writes, לכאורה יש לומר שהזין בתריקה כוונתו, שבאופן שעיקר כוונתו של האדם היא לצורך החדר שבו נמצאים הנרות, כיוון ששם נערכה הסעודה, וחדרים האחרים אינו מחוץ כל כך, ולא היה קורא לגוי לבוא לביתו לצורך אור זה, הרי זה מותר. יש לדון זאת לפי עיקר כוונתו, והעיקר זה להוסיף אור. כוונתו לחדרים האחרים, אינם כוונתו לשניהם בשווה, הרי זה אסור. So we're talking here about, here he's talking about turning on the main fuse, right? So Rav Ovadia and also Rav Moshe are very lenient about this, but Rav Shlomo Zalman and the Bnei Rabbanim were less lenient and said, well, it depends on the truth. Hate when that happens. Right? It is. If I say turn the heat on, then the truth is it's not that cold. I wouldn't really bother getting a guy for the heat, but really I want light, I want hot food, right? That's a problem. But if it really is a cold day, I'd call him just only for the heat, and everything else really is secondary in my mind. So it's interesting because it seems that he takes it back to my mind, right? Not the guy's mind, my mind. In my mind, why am I asking the guy to do this? I'm asking him to do it for the heat. I'm asking him to do it for everything else.
I think you might want to rephrase a little bit what you just said now, because if it's not so cold, then there's no heter in the first place.
Right. Okay. So if it's cold enough to justify halachically, but maybe I wouldn't bother running around finding a guy because I have other solutions.
Or you would, but kavanato l'shnehem b'shaveh. I think kavanato l'shnehem b'shaveh means exactly the situation that you said before, where you at the same time then set up all the other things to happen. I guess that would be a problem then, because then you're intending not only for the mutar thing, but for lots of other.
I rephrased it more leniently than what he was saying. This is true. Right? He's saying as long as my intention is on the other things as well, it's a problem, right? But if in my mind, truly I have two different, and I really have the heat is what's concerning me, and everything else is really truly is a byproduct, then it should be okay anyway. Yeah. The same.